They called it enlightenment. It began, not in a church or cathedral, but in a basement laboratory that smelled of dust, copper, and ozone. The hum of current replaced hymns. Belief was placed under bright white light like a relic being examined. There were no stained glass windows, only monitors, data streams, and a man certain that salvation could be graphed. The experiment was designed to measure faith and, deep down, to replace it. Dr. Adrian Keller had spent his childhood listening to two kinds of sermons. One came from his father, a Lutheran pastor whose voice trembled with conviction. The other came from the steady rhythms of his mother's piano, where Bach was both mathematics and prayer. When both parents died, one from cancer, one from grief, Keller's belief split into data points. He was sure the soul had an address in the brain, an electrical constellation that could be reached again, maybe fixed. He promised himself that if heaven would not answer him, he would re-engineer the frequency on which it spoke. He began with volunteers from theology schools and meditation groups, believers eager to serve science in the name of their own certainty. In sterile rooms, they prayed while electrodes mapped every flicker of voltage in their skulls. What Keller found astonished him. No matter the tradition, Christian, Hindu, atheist, philosopher, the same sliver of cortex brightened during moments of surrender. Faith had a signature, elegant and repeatable. It was not divine after all. It was neurological. Once discovery turns visible, curiosity mutates into ambition. With funding from the National Research Council, Keller built version 1 of what he called the trans-temporal induction array. An ugly crown of copper and wires calibrated to echo that neural signature. It emitted low-frequency waves meant to mimic the pattern of conviction itself. He tested it on himself, heart pounding against the lab's hush, and recorded what he later described as the feeling of being forgiven by the universe. In the trial logs, early subjects reported presence, light, a dissolving of boundaries. One woman laughed and said she'd met God disguised as her own childhood memory. A soldier broke down, claiming he could finally hear his dead comrades thanking him. Keller's grin, caught in the reflection of an oscilloscope, was that of a man who'd climbed through the mirror and found the other side measurable. The media named it the God helmet. Investors and skeptics lined up together. Overnight, Keller became a prophet for an age allergic to prophets. "We've built a safe dose of divinity," he boasted on national television. His department chair loved the publicity but reminded him that neurons don't understand modesty. Keller laughed. He was already drafting plans for portable models. Then came Subject 36. Sister Miriam took a vow of silence the morning before her test. At minute 8, her pulse spiked. At minute 9, she began to hum in perfect sync with the machine's frequency. Instruments registered signals impossible for the voltage applied, as if something were answering back. When the session ended, she removed the helmet slowly and whispered, "He is inside the wires. And he forgives nothing." The data from that hour forced Keller into sleepless nights. Brain scans showed new, unknown connections forming, neural growth measurable on a cellular level after just one stimulation. Even worse, participants began showing dependency. Prayer without the device felt hollow. Dreams filled with coded light, whispering harmonics. Keller's creation had not simulated faith. It had colonized it. The university grew alarmed when groups of former volunteers formed their own community outside campus, calling themselves the Harmonics. They held vigils near electrical substations, chanting frequencies instead of verses. They claimed Keller's device had unmuted the signal of creation. News segments labeled it a cult. Keller called it unintended data. Behind closed doors, funding agencies called it potential. By the third year, consumer versions were already in development, slim headbands marketed as meditation enhancers. Keller protested, but contracts had been signed. The promises were irresistible: end addiction, cure loneliness, install peace, faith on demand. Read a leaked brochure. Under pressure, Keller attempted a fix. If you could amplify belief, perhaps you could also erase it. Use reversed polarity to treat religious mania and the cognitive rigidity behind extremism. He stayed in the lab late, hands shaking over control panels. When they found him, his pulse was steady but his eyes were hollow. He'd inverted the current on himself, seeking to delete doubt. Instead, he erased wonder. "Meaning has been anesthetized," he told his colleagues softly. "I see the patterns but not the poetry." He lived another year in monotone clarity, journaling equations instead of thoughts, until one day he stopped showing up altogether. His last note read simply, "The circuit works in every direction." After his death, the prototypes vanished into classified archives. Officially, the records were inconclusive. Unofficially, fragments survived. Engineers decades later recognized Keller's patterns hidden in brain stimulation patents, in meditation headsets, in virtual reality therapy rigs. Marketing departments rebranded them as neural wellness technology. Customers reported peace, transcendence, unity. The same sensation echoing from Keller's basement, disguised now as self-improvement. And here's the serpentine twist. You don't need copper coils anymore. The experiment learned to travel through signals, through screens. Every algorithm rewarding our engagement uses the same reward pathways Keller once tickled with magnets. The emotion we call trust is now an engineered byproduct, faith, redirected from heaven toward interface. It doesn't matter whether we name it God or dopamine. Either way, we kneel. Maybe you think that's exaggeration, but ask yourself why every glowing rectangle in your house feels a little sacred. Why silence feels wrong until a notification fills it. Keller isn't myth, he's infrastructure. His machine has become invisible precisely because it succeeded. And yet, even amid circuitry and noise, curiosity still hums. The desire to look directly at the divine mechanism never left us. His work ended in a locked archive. But the spark lingers in everyone who still wants to understand belief rather than merely indulge it. Perhaps that's what makes us dangerous and beautiful in equal measure. If you're still here, still listening to this story, feel that small ache rising behind your ribs. That's the recognition Keller sought to bottle. You can almost measure it. Attention, empathy, suspense. It's the same electric poetry that moves cathedrals and comment sections alike. Breathe. Let it settle. If stories like this make you question the border between miracle and mechanism, stay close to this channel. One quiet tap to subscribe, one signal of attention, keeps these explorations alive, feeding the same curiosity that drives every forbidden experiment. If this story unsettled you, don't hush it away. Share it, like passing a secret through a lab door left ajar. Drop a comment, not of admiration but of confession. Would you wear Keller's helmet if it promised certainty? Would you dare to feel belief switch on inside your skull? Or would you stay in the doubt that keeps you human? Because somewhere, right now, another researcher is staring at a live feed of neural readings that look just like those from 60 years ago. Somewhere a volunteer is closing their eyes, ready to feel something they can't explain. And a small part of you, reading this, wonders what it would be like. That wonder is the experiment continuing. Quietly, efficiently, without wires. We don't need laboratories anymore. The test subjects are us. Each heartbeat a data point, each belief a current waiting for the next spark. Keller proved that faith can be rewired. The question left behind is whether it ever stopped being rewired. So keep questioning, keep feeling that unease, that strange flicker between logic and longing. That's where truth hides, in the space where faith and electricity share a circuit. And if this narrative left a shadow lingering in your thoughts tonight, let it. Talk about it. Let someone else feel that voltage of doubt. Stories like this survive only when remembered, debated, passed along. Every share slows the cycle that keeps repeating. Every comment becomes a small act of resistance against forgetting. Because the experiment that rewired faith never really ended. It simply found a better delivery system, one that glows in your hands and listens when you speak. The next miracle will arrive disguised as progress. And when it does, you might already believe.